Hi guys, I'm Gasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to discuss horror. And today I'm here to let you know some of the horror books that are going to be published in the month of March.
It's coffee time!
So the month of March comes packed with thriller and horror book releases. I have a list of a total of 34 books. It's gonna be a bit of everything, you know, novellas, novels, short horror stories, the usual suspects. And I hope that there's something in this list for everybody. So without further ado, it's gonna be a long one, so let's start. I'm also gonna need a lot of coffee. Let's kick it with basically a re-release that I'm excited about, but because I have issues, and that is Carrie. It is the 50th anniversary of Carrie, so they are releasing a really cool hardcover. Am I gonna get it? Possibly. Do I already have a copy of Carrie in hardcover? Yes, I do. And I actually really like that edition, but this one is tempting me. It is, so I might end up getting it, but this is just a re-release. So if you guys always wanted to read Carrie and you never bought it, now you get the chance of buying this beautiful edition. Now let's go to the new books. We have Headless by Scott Cole, and this is an adult horror novella. From what I gather from this synopsis is that it's going to be something kind of like a zombie story. We have a place that is suffering from really heavy heat waves and also some very heavy rainstorms in between, and people are losing their heads, literally, and their bodies are decaying. They're kind of becoming sort of zombies, but they're still walking with maggots and all of these cool nasty things. And we follow three people that have to become friends really fast in order to survive this kind of, I guess, apocalypse. So if you like this type of stories, this is a horror novella coming out for you in March. The Summer She Went Missing by Chelsea Icasso, and this is a YA mystery thriller. The story seems to be very straightforward. We have a girl that has disappeared, a girl called Audrey, and it has been some time since she disappeared, and there is an investigation now because she's not the only one that disappeared in this place. Also, the girl that has disappeared has left clues behind for Paige, her friend, to try to figure out what happened to her. Maybe she knew what was going to happen to her, or she had an idea of maybe why the other people disappeared, but she left not just secrets but also clues. I do like the idea that somebody has disappeared, which is a very typical scenario in YA mystery thrillers, but that person has left clues that might help to solve the mystery. What Grows in the Dark by Jack Evans, and this is adult queer horror. This is a chilling contemporary horror story about a phony spiritualist that agrees to help the police with an investigation because the murder that they are investigating is very similar to her sister's death. Basically, in this town, girls have gone missing into the woods and they have then appeared dead. Now, our main character's sister told her about a monster or something that was in the woods, and now they're gonna have to investigate and figure out what's actually happening and why are all these girls disappearing and reappearing murdered. One Last Breath by Simone St, and this is a YA mystery thriller. We follow True, and True lives in a town where two girls were murdered, and the murders were never really solved. And True has always felt like she can feel the spirit of the girls around, like their ghost, and she's always been really bothered about that case. Now True is finally going to university with her boyfriend, but she's going to meet someone that's going to change her life, and that is a girl called Rio. And as they become friends, Rio is determined to find out what happened to the two murdered girls. So we're gonna have these girls forming a friendship, trying to solve a murder, and potentially also falling in love with each other. Next we have short horror stories. It's called Recreational Panic, and it is stories by Sonora Taylor, and this is adult horror. And I love how they start pitching this book. Let me read that to you. It says, "Fear is so much a part of our lives that instead of running away from it, we're finding ways to relax with it." That's me. I relax with horror, and I know a lot of you do too. This one has 21 short horror stories that have a little bit of everything as always. I do know there is a couple that are about true crime, so I'm really interested in those. And it seems like this is going to be a book that is made for horror lovers. Pour One for the Devil by Theodore C. van Alst, and this is adult Gothic horror. This is a horror novella about a historian that is invited to do a lecture at a mansion. Now, it pays really well. He doesn't really know why he has been invited, but he decides to go because, like I said, it pays really well. And he has to go to a mansion in the middle of an island, isolated, so you're getting here the Gothic vibe already. And obviously when the historian gets there, there's going to be a lot of secrets that are going to be uncovered in that house. It sounds like your classic Gothic horror, really atmospheric. Then we have another Gothic horror. We have The Invisible Hotel by Yeji Y. Ham, and this is adult horror Gothic. It is literary horror and kind of like a speculative horror fiction, and it is all related to the Korean War. Our main character is dreaming about a hotel, about the rooms in that hotel, and all of those dreams that are kind of nightmares are all related to things that our main character had to go through during the Korea War. So it is a lot about your culture, your heritage, and war and things that have traumatized you. So if you love speculative fiction, this might be one that you want to pick up. But Like Us by Gabriela Lepore, and this is a YA mystery thriller. Everybody's enjoying spring break until someone gets murdered. This sounds fantastic. Already hooked. We follow Eva and her best friends, and they are all done with school, and some of them didn't get the best grades, so some of them are not really excited, but they decide, you know, to put all of that aside and have a really good and fun spring break. I think there is a love triangle here and an anonymous letter that is being sent, and on top of that somebody also gets murdered. So I'm expecting probably here a lot of teenage angst, trouble also with relationships. So maybe this is not going to be for people that don't like a little bit of like romantic relationship or love triangles in their books. We're going back to adult horror, and we have The Hunting of Velkwood, and this is by Wendelin Kist. This is a novel about 3 friends that actually survive the night while everybody else in their neighborhood turn into ghosts. That sounds already fantastic. Since that night, Velkwood has become a place that is being studied by people. It is like a secluded place where people don't really want to go in because everybody inside of that town became ghosts overnight. But the 3 people that originally escaped are the only ones that can come in and out of the town without being affected. And so people that want to study this kind of phenomenon are willing to pay them a lot of money to go back in to investigate for them. Freeburn by Drew E. Huff. So this book is a very dark and comedic story. So it might not be for everybody because of that tone. Our main character is trying to rescue his girlfriend, the only girlfriend he has ever loved, from the clutches of his reanimated undead mother. That already sounds bonkers to me. Our next book is a book that I am extremely excited about. I do have this one on pre-order, but I don't know when it's gonna get to me because I did pre-order it from Waterstone, so it comes from the UK and it has to make its way to me. But that is Murder Road by Simone St, and this is adult mystery thriller, and I have really enjoyed the books that I have read by her so far, so I'm really excited for this. We're in 1995. We follow a couple that is driving down the road and they take a wrong turn, and that leads them to find someone that is hijacking, and they end up taking that person into their car. Red flag, you know? But when the hijacker gets into the car, they realize that that person is bleeding, that he has some sort of wound, so they decide to drive directly to the hospital, but the hijacker ends up dying at the hospital, and then the poor couple that was just trying to do the right thing, trying to be nice, become the prime suspects in a series of murders. Great! So yeah, this one is one that I'm really excited about, and the moment that I get this book, I'm gonna start reading it, but I don't know if it's gonna come on time for me to be able to read it in March, but I am excited. The New Couple in 5B by Lisa Unger, and this is another adult mystery thriller. We follow a couple that is financially struggling when they get the best of news in a way. I mean, one of their uncles has died, not great, but the uncle has left them a really luxurious apartment in a great building with a doorman and a lot of things that they are not used to. It is a very prestigious apartment building in New York, but when the couple settles in their new place, they start to notice weird things, like the uniformed doorman is always present, there is cameras everywhere, and apparently there's been like a lot of crimes, you know, during the years, so what's actually going on. And I personally love stories about apartment buildings that are hiding something really dark. So this one is one that I'm interested in. Lie or Die by A.G. Clark, and this is a YA mystery thriller. The book follows a set of teenagers that are all locked in the set of a new TV show. Locked people somewhere, come in. It is supposed to be, you know, the new big reality hit show, but now these people are trapped there, and the games are not gonna be just games, and they have to figure out how to get out of there. And they also do not know who to trust because they are probably just meant to be contestants for this reality show, and now they are together, locked, and they don't know each other. So yeah, locked people in rooms, sets, places, give it to me. Now we have another compilation of short horror stories, and it is called Through the Night, Like a Snake, Latin American Horror Stories, edited by Sarah Coolidge. These are 10 chilling stories written by contemporary Latin authors. So I'm really excited always when I see compilations that include other cultures and, you know, people that come from other backgrounds, because their horror, a lot of times it is based on childhood tales or things that they were scared of when they were young, and they can be so different from ours, so I'm really excited for this one as well. Of all things sacred, and I don't think I should try to pronounce this surname because I know I'm not gonna make it justice. So let me just talk to you about the book. For what I understand from this one, is a horror book that is heavily based on religion and the power of religion and the word of God. So this is one for people that love their horror combined with religion. It is about a prophet that arrives in a new town, and he speaks of exorcisms, he speaks of the evil things. He talks about repenting your sins. Of course, he explains the prophecies, and we've all heard of these false prophets. I'm actually currently watching a documentary about a cult as well, and it is very interesting, and I don't know if this book is going to be cultish, but you get the idea. The Other Lola by Ripley Jones, and this is a YA mystery thriller. When I read the synopsis of this book, it really reminded me of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, so I think I need to read this book. I think this might be a follow-up to the other author's book as well, but I didn't find a confirmation on Goodreads. So basically, Cam and Blair are two friends that have a podcast, and they covered the story of a missing girl in their town, and it went viral, and they became really popular, and it's something that they didn't expect. So I'm thinking that's what happened in the first book, and now they're gonna be faced with a new mystery to solve. So it sounds very similar to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I'm really intrigued now about these books. And these girls also received the visit of a guy that is coming to them for help because his sister Lola is missing. So it's just reminds me so much of the Holly Jackson trilogy that, yeah, I think these are must reads for me. Soulmates and Other Ways to Die by Melissa Welliver, and this one is a bit more, I guess, on the romance side of things, but I love romances that take place during the apocalypse. This is also Enemies to Lovers, and I had the other book by the author that is also kind of like a relationship in the apocalypse. I had it already on my wish list, so now I'm adding another one. I think I need to get to these because, you know, I don't read romance so often. Maybe I should, because I do enjoy romance here and there, but romance combined with the apocalypse or with stuff like that tends to work for me. Apparently here, if you have a soulmate, there is a deadly virus that is affecting people that find their soulmate, and then both of them start to get really sick, I guess maybe even die. I'm not sure, but it sounds like a very intriguing concept. The Best Way to Bury Your Husband by Alexia Casale, and this is an adult mystery thriller. So this is, you know, as you can tell by the title, a dark comedy, and it follows 4 women that kind of meet and start complaining about each other's hobbies, and they start the process of healing together and also decide, you know, we can help each other to bury their bodies once we've killed our husbands. Sounds like a really fun club. In Excess of Dark, read Lago, and this is an adult horror novella. What if all the nightmares and all the worst things you've ever imagined would come true? That's what happens to our main character. Basically, she has managed somehow to turn her worst nightmares into reality, and now she's in a pickle. Imagine everything you daydream about, even that it will come true, even things that you don't have the time to really, you know, process and think about. What if you just wished someone something bad, like on a whim, and then something would happen to that person? So this sends our main character into kind of like a depression, and she doesn't know what to do with all of these nightmares and feelings that she has that are suddenly turning into reality. A Boy's Calling by Christopher Varsak, and this is an adult gothic horror novella. We have here the Button House, and this is a house where people have perished, have gone mad, had gone missing. This is a place that it's supposed to be truly haunted. Until Rose moves into the house, and Rose seems to have the ability of actually hearing the house, so she might be the only one able to help this place. Rainbow Black by Maggie Trash, and this is an adult queer mystery thriller. This is pitched to be part gay, part fugitive love story, but also a murder mystery, and it takes place in the 90s during the Satanic Panic. That is where the story originates, but then we move forward in time 20 years later, and we follow a woman that is related somehow to everything that happened back in the 90s. So this is going to be one of those books that has a dual timeline. The next short horror story compilation is all about queer horror stories, and I think this title is quite funny. It's called Bury Your Gays, an anthology of tragic queer horror, and it's edited by Sophia Ajram. These are 16 stories by new visionary queer writers, and these ones are kind of like about all topics that you would probably relate to the queer community, which I think it's going to help to also bring a lot more representation to horror and to fiction in general. So this is another one that is going to be great for you guys that love short horror stories. A Botanical Daughter by Noah Medlock, and this is horror queer fantasy. We follow two Victorian gentlemen, and this is supposed to be a tale with a little bit of Frankenstein in it. So we have these two guys that are always performing these weird experiments with things from their garden, and then one day they create something that is basically a woman. Their brothers use a new fungi that they have received in order to perform some experiments and kind of bring an undead body back to life. So this is gonna be quite weird, I'm expecting, because we are combining kind of like plants, fungi, experiments with a dead body. So it's almost bringing her to life like a Frankenstein experiment. So might be one of those that is weird but delightful. Where Sleeping Girls Lie, and this is another YA mystery thriller. Our main character has always been homeschooled, but from now on she's going to attend a regular school, and she's very scared about it. It is a big change for her. Also, she didn't expect that her roommate Elizabeth was going to disappear the very first night that she moves into the dorms. Like, what the hell? So now we're gonna have to figure out what's actually happening in this place. On top of that, people assume that our main character has something to do with it just because she was her roommate. And in order to make things even worse, after that, a student is murdered. So, like, what the hell is going on here? Forgotten Sisters by Cynthia Pelayo, and this is an adult horror mystery fantasy thriller. We follow two sisters that live in a bungalow close to the river, and this place apparently is not a great place to live. They start to hear voices, people start drowning in the river, and it seems to be a dangerous place, but the sisters, they just refuse to move because that has always been their home. One of the sisters starts a podcast and starts to talk about the phenomenon and everything that's happening and all the drownings and all the bodies in the river, and then some of the listeners start to give them more information. So we have here, I guess, some sort of investigation about what's happening here, thanks to a podcast, which is something that I am seeing more and more come up in books, and honestly I'm enjoying it. The Woods All Black by Lee Mandello, and this is a queer horror historical fiction. This book is supposed to be part historical fiction. We also have a trans romance. We also have bloody revenge, and it's all set up in the 1920s Appalachia. Our main character is a nurse at the Frontier Service, and he is assigned to go to a very specific place in Appalachia to take care of the people, basically to give them vaccinations, to help bring the babies into this world. And you know, it's supposed to be a simple job as a nurse, but then this place seems to be a lot darker than he anticipated. This book touches on body autonomy and also the dangers of like very strong religious beliefs in really tiny isolated places. So that sounds really interesting to me. The mystery writer Sulari Gentil, and this is adult mystery thriller. So Theodosia decides that she's going to leave her current job and she's gonna try to write a novel, and in order to do that she leaves her job and goes back to live with her brother. She feels like her family is gonna judge her for leaving her stable job in order to pursue, you know, being an author, and she's full of fears as she starts writing her book, and she also has someone that is her mentor that is trying to help her to get published and all of that. And that mentor is murdered, and of course everybody turns the eyes on her and they think she's the one responsible for the kill. And it is her mentor that is brutally murdered, and the police start to look into her brother. And she's like, what the hell is going on? So obviously she's gonna try to defend her brother. I'm excited about this one because there are not too many mystery thrillers or horror books in general that are about, you know, struggling authors and, you know, what happens when you are writing probably a mystery thriller. I'm guessing the author here is probably also writing a mystery thriller, and then a murder happens around you and they even accuse your brother. So it just sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun to try to figure out who killed the mentor. The Angel of Indian Lake, and this is going to be the third book in a trilogy by Stephen Graham Johns, and it is the Indian Lake trilogy. So I read the first book, which was My Heart is a Chainsaw, and I really enjoyed it, but I didn't feel like it was so much so a favorite of mine, so I made the decision of not to continue with the series. But I know a lot of people do love it, and now you guys get to read the third book. Dead Girls Walking by Sammy Ellis, and this is a YA mystery thriller. This is going to be a YA slasher. It does take place, I believe, in a summer camp, and they have compared it to White Smoke and Friday the 13th. So I'm really excited. If it does actually take mostly place in a summer camp, this is going to be such a good book, you guys, for us to read during summer. We follow Temple, and she has had to live her whole life knowing that her father is a well-known serial killer that murdered a lot of people at a summer camp. Now, the police also say that her father killed the mother, but she is determined to prove them wrong. So she decides to go back to the summer camp to try to discover her mother's body in order to kind of just prove that her father did not kill her mom. I guess she's not gonna prove that he didn't kill anybody else. He's still gonna be a killer, but I guess she's really bothered that he's being accused with her mom's murder. I also believe when she goes back to the camp to try to figure out, you know, where the dead bodies were buried that were never recovered, including her mom's, I believe somebody else is murdered on, you know, current time. And so she's gonna be in a pickle again. Is it a copycat? We don't know. So this one sounds like such a fun slasher for summer. It does come out in March, but I might keep this one for the summer. Diabola, Jennifer Marie Thorne, and this is adult horror gothic. Our main character seems to be the only one in the family that doesn't fit. Now, quite relatable. Like, I myself always felt like the black sheep of my family because I liked different things that nobody else really liked. So our main character's twin brother, he, you know, gets along with everybody. He's easygoing. Everybody loves him. Her older sister has a good life. She's married, has a kid, has a dog, and you know, she feels like the parents are always annoying her about her life choices and always questioning her, judging her. They decide to go all together for a vacation, and when they get to the place that they have rented, weird things are gonna start to happen. So this is supposed to be a kind of like a twist on your typical haunted house tale. And it's going to explore more deeper themes like loneliness or the sense of belonging, like when it comes to your family as well. So I'm really intrigued about this one, and the cover is super cute. How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin, and this is adult mystery thriller. I think this one is fantastic. It sounds amazing, and it said it's for fans of Knives Out, which I really enjoy that movie. It is about a woman that has spent her whole life trying to figure out her own death. Like, she knows that she's gonna be murdered because a clairvoyant told her so. So she has been preparing all her life to solve her own murder before it happens. How cool is that? So Frances was told in 1965 that, you know, she was gonna get murdered. She believed it. So she spent her whole life, like 60 years of her life, trying to solve her own murder before it happened. And obviously she's not able to because she does get killed. But now Annie has inherited her great aunt's estate, and she will find the notes and diaries and things that she was keeping in order to try to solve her own murder. So it is up to her now to figure out what happened to her great aunt. Lost Man's Lane by Scott Carson, and this is adult horror thriller. This is a supernatural thriller, and we follow a 16-year-old that has gotten a job as an assistant at a very prestigious firm, and they are investigating one of the biggest cases of the country, a woman that disappeared years ago. The last time the woman was seen alive was at the back of a police car, and the policeman that was driving the car impersonated as a policeman but was not, obviously, and after that that woman was never seen again. So Marshall, our main character, is doing his internship, and he's learning as much as he can from this case because he's really excited about it, and he also of course wants to help solve it. This is supposed to be a coming-of-age tale of horror, and you guys know coming-of-age horror is something that I really enjoy. The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton, and this is another adult mystery thriller. So the world was taken by a fog that killed everyone, and now we only have like an isolated, protected little island with 122 civilians and 3 scientists that are the only ones surviving with whatever they have left. You know, a little bit of food. They are building their own colony in there, and they are for now safe. But now one of their scientists has been murdered, has been stabbed, and that has triggered kind of like a security error, and their security is very low at the moment, which means in around 92 hours the fog might start coming in. So they need to figure out what's happening. They need to build up back that security in order to survive. Alright you guys, so those were all the books, all the thrillers and all the horrors that I had on my release list for the month of March 2024. I hope that you enjoyed hearing about all of these books. Maybe there is a couple of them that you are really interested in reading, maybe some hopefully that you didn't know of that have piqued your interest. Let me know down below if there is any specific book that you are really excited about that is coming out in the month of March. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all as always in our next coffee time. Bye! A little bit to the right, a little bit, what the fuck is that? A little bit up. You think it's enough light? I'm hoping, bitch. I'm gonna be blind. I'm getting blind for you guys. You're welcome. You're welcome.